What's up everybody, it's Sean here and I'm here today to give you guys a review of the Collegium Pillar Court 2 in this Oxford Green and Chalk colorways. So Collegium, for those who haven't heard of them before, is an up-and-coming independent brand based out of California, but their sneakers, which is what they're most known for, are proudly made in Italy. So I've known the founder of Collegium, Nick, for many years now, and I've seen him from the first day he started his company to where it is today, where there's a bit of a cult following for the brand. And these two right here are their latest silhouette, the Pillar Court 2. So these had a soft launch on their website on January 1st, and they retailed for a price of $225 each, which is roughly 300 Canadian dollars. And just like all their other footwear, both of these pairs are handmade in Italy and constructed using top quality Italian leather. So this silhouette is inspired by vintage soccer, tennis, and army sneakers, and these two colorways were the debut colors for this model. So this one right here is called the Oxford Green colorway, and the official colorway is white, taupe, and green, and whereas this one is nicknamed the Chalk colorway, and the official colorway for this one is white, taupe, and black. So diving into the details of both of these shoes, the claim to fame for this pair, just to get straight to the point, is of course the top grain Italian leather. So this is 100% natural leather, there's no polyurethane coat on top of this. That's why you can see those natural leather grains on this shoe, along with all the different natural imperfections of the leather itself. Overlaid on top of the toe box, we have two layers of Italian suede. So the bottom layer is done in this tan sort of finish, and you can see this is a decently thick cut of suede, and the nap on the suede isn't too long or too short. I'd say that it's perfectly in the middle. Overlaid on top of the tan suede, we have this toe guard, which is done in more of a pure platinum or gray color, and you can see we have that same white leather covering the eyelets of the shoe as well. On the mid panel of both sides of the shoe, we have Collegium signature thick stripe, and this is done in that same tan suede that we saw on the toe box for the Chalk pair, whereas for the Oxford Green pair, here we have this green colored calf leather, which feels just as good as the white leather used on the body of the shoe. Moving downwards, you can see we have more of that same white leather, and the same white leather wraps around the bottom of the heel as well. Underneath this leather, there is an internal heel cup, which gives you a little bit of added structure and support for the back end of the shoe. And then on the top of the heel, this is finished off in this tonal finish. So we have a black colored calf leather on the Chalk pair, whereas we have a green colored leather on the Oxford Green pair. Turning our attention back to the front, they give you two options of laces. The standard default lace is a flat style Italian cotton lace, but they also give you a secondary cream colored lace if you want to give the shoe a little bit more contrast and color. Underneath this, we have this vintage style nylon tongue, which is given a slight tone of yellow, which adds to the whole vintage flair and look of this sneaker. And at the very top, we have this tag, which is also constructed out of calf leather, and is done in this tonal finish, and we have Collegium branding pressed on across. And you also see the outer edges of the tongue are also lined in that same leather, which adds a nice premium feel and finish to it. The interior of the shoe is completely lined in calf leather, so there's no fabric in between this. So as you can tell, they're really pushing that whole aspect of premium materials and finishes. And then moving on to the insoles, so these come with a pretty well padded polyurethane foam insole. The top of the insole is completely lined in leather once again, and then pressed on the heel, we have Collegium branding in black. If you remove the insole, you'll see that instead of a strobo board, we actually have another thin layer of polyurethane foam, which is that same foam that we saw earlier on the insoles. So essentially what this shoe gives you is two layers of cushioning, which really helps from a comfort standpoint. So the upper of the shoe sits atop this rubber cup sole, which is a Margom outsole, which is a famous outsole brand from Italy. And the rubber used here is 100% natural, and it's colored in this vintage looking yellow color, which I think goes perfectly with the whole vintage aesthetic and design of this Pillar Court 2. Turning this pair over to the bottom, so we have a pretty simple outsole pattern. This is done in this hexagon style finish, and it runs from heel to toe. So that breaks down the look, the design, and the components of this Pillar Court 2. And for those wondering about sizing, so this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So my feet measures as a true size 10, slightly on the wider side. And for Collegium shoes, because they are in European sizes, I usually wear between a 42 or a 43. Collegium in general runs a little bit on the bigger side, and I got these in a size 43, and I feel like in a perfect world, a 42 and a half, if it existed, would have been perfect. The width of the shoe at 43 was great. I absolutely had no issues even though my feet are a little bit wider, but there was a little bit extra room lengthwise than I would have preferred. I think going down to a 42 would have been too much of a squeeze, so my simple fix is just wearing thicker socks and dealing with that extra length. But if you're someone that's kind of in between sizes, go on their website, check out their size chart, and I'd probably round down to the smaller size if possible. So if you're a size 9.5 US, then I would probably recommend you guys go down to the 42. For anyone that's worn Collegium before, so I wear a 43 in the Pillar Destroyer High and the Low, and I wear a 42 in the Pillar Destroyer 2. Moving on to the comfort, so overall, this shoe is just okay from a comfort standpoint. The majority of the comfort is coming from that thick polyurethane insole, but because of the way the insole is shaped, there's a lot more padding and thickness in the insole on the heel, whereas on the forefoot, it's a bit thin. So because of that, I thought the step-in comfort was just okay. You can definitely feel the cushioning on the heels of this shoe, but the forefoot honestly felt a little bit minimalistic. That's not a bad thing though, you definitely feel close to the ground, and it feels very flat and structured, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. If I'm walking for hours and hours on end, I don't want a shoe that's going to be way too soft and cushioned, so at the end of the day, it depends on personal preference. If you're someone that's used to wearing Boost, for example, all day, or just shoes that have a ton of cushioning on them, then you'll probably feel like these are way too minimalistic. But if you're someone that wears dress shoes or even Chuck Taylors, for example, and then you switch into these ones, then you probably feel that the cushioning of the shoe is pretty good. Finally, in terms of the overall quality and craftsmanship, honestly, I could just skip over this part. And don't get me wrong, this is not a paid review or anything like that. The quality of the materials definitely speaks for themselves, and it's honestly a steal for the price that you're paying. Like I said throughout this review, this is high quality Italian top grain leather, and they definitely didn't cheap out with the materials at all. So you can really tell just in hand and with the smell of this shoe that this is a different class of sneaker compared to the major brands, and the craftsmanship and the build on this shoe was very solid as well. There were some minor issues like the stitching on the midsole area, but honestly that's pretty minor. The shape of all the different panels on this shoe were consistently cut. The stitch job on the upper was great as well, so I'm sure you guys will be quite impressed when you get these in hand. So with all that out of the way, now let's toss these on feet, and I'll show you guys how both of these colorways look on feet. I think the Pillar Court 2 is a great silhouette from Collegium, and I'm sure it'll be highly successful when they release more colorways down the road. We've already seen tremendous success with the Pillar Destroyer highs and the lows, and the Devastators or Destroyer 2 is my personal favorite silhouette, but this silhouette is one I definitely will keep my eye on, and no doubt I'll be adding a ton of future colorways to my collection. Between these two colorways though, it's so hard to choose. I like the versatility and simplicity of this chalk colorway. Black, white, and tan and gray. It honestly goes with whatever you want to wear. But there's something about this green that really pops, and it really adds to that whole retro tennis or soccer flair, which this model is inspired by. So if I had to choose, I'd probably go with the chalk colorway, but it's honestly so close. So let me know in the comment section down below, between these two colorways, Oxford Green and Chalk, which of the two do you guys prefer? And what are your overall thoughts on the Pillar Court 2 silhouette? If you guys like this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. You can follow me on Instagram at esco8, follow my Twitter account at sean.go, and visit my website at seango.ca. So if you guys are interested in Collegium, be sure to check out their website, rcollegium.com, and thank you everyone for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll catch you guys all in the next one.